Now joined by Craig Forrest, former Canada men's national team player and current co-host of Footy Prime, the podcast with our own James Sharman. Craig, I should probably start with the big news. Toronto and Vancouver announced as host cities for the 2026 World Cup. Not really a big surprise, but what was your initial reaction to that news?
Well, it's pretty much what I think most people expected. There was lots of rumors going around that Edmonton were out of the mix, and that certainly seemed to be the case in the end, didn't it? I don't know if it wasn't really a surprise. It looked as though Toronto and Vancouver were pretty much shoo-ins, but it's from a footballing standpoint, from where I started my playing career, or even when as a child, to actually think that there's a World Cup coming to Canada is just something that was thought of back then, and really was almost impossible. It was a dream too far away, if you like. And to see what we've got now and what's going to happen in 4 years, we're basically going to have multiple Super Bowl numbers and in an event that's the biggest in the world, of course.
When you were playing, was that a bucket list item for you to play, obviously in the World Cup, but to play in your home nation?
No, because it was nothing. You couldn't dream about it because it was something. It was like, that's a dream that's never going to come true, right? Playing in the World Cup was certainly a dream that we could possibly pull off. The rules were different back when I was playing. I mean, in '94 there was only one team qualified automatically, and we finished second and got absolutely nothing for that, pretty much. So. It was a dream to make the World Cup, but to represent your country in a World Cup at home, that was never going to happen for me. Absolutely not. So these guys, it's a magnificent situation. They qualify for 22 in Qatar in a fashion that we've never seen before. And then you see what's happening in 26, which is not a guarantee at the moment, but it's pretty much a formality that Canada and the United States will get automatic spots for that World Cup. And there's still going to be plenty of other opportunities for CONCACAF teams as well to qualify for that World Cup.
Yeah, the dream's going to become a reality for this current men's national team. And let's talk about them. We don't have to go too deep into what happened over the past few weeks, but now that you've had time to digest what went down, how will you look back at that last window?
I forgot about it already. It was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. I mean, really, the only thing I can think that John Herdman got out of that was getting the group together is always never a bad thing. They don't get it together often enough because of the FIFA windows and whatnot. So from that standpoint, I'm sure he got some use out of it. Hopefully I'll be able to talk to him at some stage about it. But, the Iranian game, the Panama strike by the players, this labor dispute that's ongoing, it's not fixed yet. Equal pay with the women, that's got to be done as quickly as they possibly can, in my opinion. So his public opinion is going to slaughter them on that. So hopefully they're just sort of tying those things down. And then when that happens, I think we're then in a really good position to look forward. And the two groups, the Canadian women and men, are going to be in a very strong position as far as working together as opposed to fighting against each other.
Do you think it was a wasted window, Craig?
Yeah, well, for the most part, I think it was. I mean, when you're looking at the two opposition that they end up playing, Curacao, that sat 11 men behind the ball, that's not going to happen in any of the games in the World Cup. Canada's not going to have to try to break that down. They're going to be the ones sitting deep for the most part. So that wasn't something in a profile team that you're going to play against. And then comes the Honduras game down in Honduras with the basic monsoons that hit Central America right across the board. That is, again, something where they're not going to see in Qatar either. Dry, hot, although the stadiums are air conditioning and will be around 23 degrees, even though they're outside. So as far as the carbon footprint goes for Qatar, it's not good, but it's not going to be as hot as it could be.
Craig, you've played in some horrible conditions throughout your career. I just want to get the player's perspective here. When you're out there on a pitch like that we saw in Honduras, what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, really the pitch, in my opinion, wasn't even playable. But the problem is with this Winter World Cup and the Nations League that's been created, you've created this sort of bottleneck of games and really not enough dates in the calendar to be able to fit it in. So when you look at the United States against El Salvador the night after, same sort of situation. It was a big mud bath. And then Canada against Honduras. They could not cancel those games because there's just nowhere to fit them in anywhere. So it was a case of just trying to get through it. And when you're in those situations, you just sort of live with it. You have to roll with it. You know, the conditions are always going to be different. But if you look at the surfaces and conditions of the Canadian national team have played through this whole qualifying round, playing all the island teams in different conditions, and then in the winter and minus whatever 15, 16, Hamilton was miserable. Birds are playing in Minnesota and they had frostbite and things like this. It really is quite something, and you're not guaranteed exactly what you want all the time. And I always say in CONCACAF, you have to expect the unexpected.
For John Herdman, he'll obviously want to make up for lost time in terms of, training sessions, and hopefully they're going to get those 2 friendly games in September. I want to talk about these training sessions and getting ready for the World Cup. Does it matter to the players as much as it does to the coaching staff? I know that might sound like a crazy question, but it seems like the emphasis is coming more from the coaching staff.
Well, it's both, of course. I mean, one thing you have to consider too, and the coaching staff, John Herdman and his staff are buzzing. They're ready to get together for the camp, and they haven't been doing anything for a while. But from a player's standpoint, they're just coming off league seasons and playoff games, and like guys like Richie Larea that are trying to get into Nottingham Forest. They made it to the Premier League through the playoff system. There's a lot of emotional, wear and tear and taxing on the body and the mind. So these guys are tired. And I think we saw that in the European Nations League too, with some of the crazy results where it's just a case, I believe, that you can't take much notice in the results right now. But the players really need a break. And it's getting close to coming back to preseason for next year already.
Yeah, I know, just 7 weeks away from the start of the Premier League season. And it feels like when it comes to these Nations League games, the result is almost an afterthought, because now everyone is just geared up for the World Cup and they're looking forward to that and hoping that none of these players get injured. As for September, what's Herdman's plan going to be with those friendlies? Is it so much just kind of implementing his system, or is he trying to find some X factors, as he said?
Well, I mean, one thing I'm pretty sure of, we will not see any home games in September. I think the plan will be to go to Europe and try to find a team with a profile of a couple of the European teams are going to have to play, Croatia and Belgium. So other than that, you're basically in a situation where the players will be released on November 14th, I believe, and the World Cup starts on November 21st. That's a really short window of opportunity, and it's very unusual and unique to this particular World Cup. They could play a game in Qatar probably in that week if they wanted to, but my guess will be that they'll probably find an opposition, somebody like, say, Japan, that they will not play anywhere in the World Cup potentially, and play behind closed doors, sort of a practice match to try to get some sort of work done that way. So very important to basically for John Herdman to have every single minute looked after leading into that first game of the World Cup.
Absolutely. And speaking of Herdman, I want to hit you with this question. He's an emotional guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve. Obviously looked dejected over the past window based on what happened, canceled friendlies, the labor dispute, yada, yada, yada. Looking kind of past this World Cup, this upcoming World Cup, would you be surprised if Herdman left Canada?
No, I wouldn't be surprised, but I also believe that wouldn't be the case unless some big offer comes from a top 4, top 5 Premier League club. But I honestly don't think that's going to happen. Not because he's not a coach that's good enough, because he hasn't got any experience at club level. He's an expert at tournament football. He's been at literally dozens of tournaments with women and men. So he'll understand that as well. And the odds don't change for even him. If he goes over there for, say, a championship, second division side, and he loses 5, 6 in a row, he gets fired just like every other manager. And then the women's tag is going to come back at him. And, well, we hired a former women's coach and blah, blah, blah. So, he's got a young family. He's got a daughter that's 11 years old. I know that he wants her to, have roots and grow roots in Canada and have some stability. I think that plays a factor into his decisions as well, and a bit of security. I don't think there's much he can screw up between here and 2026. So he's looking pretty good if he wants to remain here in Canada. And I really believe that unless things absolutely fall apart behind the scenes with the Canadian Soccer Association, I believe that he's going to be here for some time, which is great for our association.
Yeah, he's really built up this Canadian men's national team program, this Canadian soccer program as a whole. So much so, Craig, that the Guardian, who released their World Cup power rankings, listed Canada as 16th above Wales, Poland, Mexico, and the States. Overreaction, or are they just getting a lot more respect?
Oh, the respect. I don't mind that. If they're going to put us at 16, that would put us in the knockout stages, or so that's a really good thing, and that it shows that there's a lot of media and a lot of people are keeping a close eye on Canada, seeing them, watch them, know the players, know the unit, and know what to really expect from them. That they will be a challenge. And remember, when you got a forward line that the Canada have, with the pace that they have, it's always going to scare any opposition to a certain point. So all those sides are going to have to be very careful. Even Belgium, they have a terrific side, but a little bit of an aging back line. So they'll be terrified of seeing some of the pace that Canada have.
Yeah, it's becoming real and becoming very exciting very soon, obviously with the World Cup coming up. Before I let you go, Craig, I have to hit you with some bets because here at the Parlay, we're all about sports betting. So let me hit you with this. Canada to score 2 or more goals in their group, minus 280.
Oh, I like that. I think they're getting 2 goals. Yeah.
And this one I have to ask the keeper. Canada to keep a clean sheet, Craig, minus 120. It'll be difficult. I think the chances are probably better with Morocco than Belgium or Croatia, but minus 120 are pretty decent odds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the way they've defended too, they've surprised an awful lot of people. At this present moment, I might want to hold off on that particular one just to see what, as we lead into it, what John has available to him, who's fit, if anybody picks up any injuries leading into it, whatnot, what that back line looks like. Right. Victoria's getting older, of course. He's done an amazing job, much better than I think most people expected. But I still think if there's a weakness in Canada, it's that defensive side of things. So we'll see how that progresses. And if they can make sure that they have as fit as they possibly can and a strong back line, then I would go for that type of bet.
And finally, the big one here, Canada to qualify from Group F, plus 290.
I'd take that. I would take that. I've got a feeling that they're going to be able to do this, but it's not going to be easy, and it wouldn't be a bet that I would throw on there and think that's a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination. But those odds aren't bad, and with the hope and that we have for the Canadian team, I think they can. I believe they can do it.
They definitely have the quality. 5 points seems to be the magic number, but the last World Cup, Argentina and Japan did get through with 4 points. So there's a chance for Canada. Craig, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. Make sure you check out the Footy Prime, not the Footy Prime, Footy Prime, the podcast with Craig Forrest and our own James Sharman.